Let me talk about agentic commerce and how X402 fits in the big scheme of things here. I am Anil Nadiminti. I'm a senior solutions architect at AWS. I work with the cryptocurrencies. So I work at AWS and I support the cryptocurrencies of the world. Think of chain links and the Uniswaps and the crypto exchanges of the world as well, right? So I work with a number of crypto-related firms. And today I'm going to talk about the payments and the product that AWS has launched, and it's still in preview. But before we do that, Agent Core is one of the services that we've launched, and there was a question in the audience earlier about how do we connect with the identities, and we can talk about that as well, right? So with that said, let's get started. So let's say that you have an amazing product that you built, and you've set it up, it's all working, and then there is a business model that you've created, subscription model, and then you expect that your consumers will pay on a subscription model, and then all of a sudden you see that most of the traffic that's actually hitting the website is bots, right? So there is a lot of bots there. 51% of the web traffic is actually bots. They could scrapers, AI-related bots. Think of Claude bots, OpenAI bots are scraping your site or your API services as well, right? So now you have a conundrum here, right? So you have to figure out, okay, what do you do? Do you block all the scraping? Do you block all the bots? Or do you actually allow them and figure out if there is an economy out there, right? So we're talking about, when we talk about agentic commerce, we have a buy side and a sell side. So this is on the sell side of things, right? So where you have data that you can monetize, and that could be, we can see about the solutions here, right? So now, if you look at the evolution of agents, we started with assistants, prompting assistants, building agents, and then right now we have autonomous agents that are doing a whole lot of work. But what happens when agents hit a paywall, right? So there is friction out there where the agents cannot make transactions because they don't have wallets. They can't run transactions to be able to buy content because there is the friction that's inbuilt over there, right? So, and we don't have a common standard. So this is where Coinbase introduced a protocol called x402. They've utilized this 402 status code in HTTP that was not utilized for a very long time. They've introduced this in 2025, last year. And in this protocol, you have a server that's actually serving content. And this is an internet native protocol where you're able to sell, make transactions and use agents for all of this, right? So we'll go into some of the details here, but all of this is zero human interaction. And this is backed by Coinbase, AWS. There is many folks many companies in the foundation, but X402 is for zero protocol, support zero protocol fees. There is zero weight, no friction involved, and there is no centralization in this protocol, right? So, and then if you look at the timeline, it was launched in May 2025. We are 1 year out, and X402 is now part of the Linux Foundation, and AWS launched Agent Core Payments. And one of the items that we see here is how does this whole transaction work, right? So there is a client that requests a server for some content, for maybe it makes a call to the API. The server responds back with a 402. And what the client does is that it signs an authorization and it says, okay, now this is the authorization, use that authorization in the header and send that to the server. The server will use facilitators to verify if the cryptographic authorization is valid. Server will settle the payments, and also the facilitator will do all of that and then respond back to the server that the settlement is done. And the server then validates and says, okay, is this a valid request? If it is valid, then send a 200 response, right? Again, these are short, quick responses, but you also have like a 201 response that the server sometimes sends when there is a long transaction that runs. Now, we've all been chatting about agents today. OpenAI also spoke about the different agents where they could be deterministic, and there's a non-deterministic piece as well. Because when you have payments involved, you don't want to be going into a non-deterministic piece where LLMs are looking at the content, right? So let's talk about that, right? So when you get a response from the server says, okay, this is the maximum amount that is required, and this is the resource, this is the pay to address, and that is the USDC contract address that we need to execute. So X402 requires no accounts, no subscriptions, no API keys, And typically, these settlements happen under 200 milliseconds on base or Solana-based virtual machines, EVM-based virtual machines as well. And again, this is part of the open governance, right? So there are all these different parties, Coinbase, Stripe, AWS, Circle. Circle can have wallets, the stablecoin issuer as well. But let's understand a little bit about the facilitators, right? So we spoke about facilitators verifying the transactions, being able to submit the transactions for on-chain execution. And once the on-chain execution is done, the facilitator will respond back saying that, this is a valid transaction. So what you saw earlier was, there are a number of bots that are out there. Now think of verified bots, unverified bots, and humans that can access your website, right? So now the economic model changes, right? So you can have a bot that is verified where you say, hey, I signed a contract with OpenAI, I can give all my content to them, so they're verified, and we're going to give them a different pricing compared to a bot that is unverified, right? So that's one of the models that's out there. And you can do this today in AWS. There is a service called CloudFront. It's a content delivery network service where you can bring your app, your APIs, and you can host it using CloudFront, and you can start setting up execution rails to be able to reimagine this workflow. Right? So again, this is the landscape of, again, there are x402, MPP. MPP was recently launched in March. And there is a lot of activity building up. And MPP is essentially payment agnostic. And today, x402 is mainly USDC settlements. Right? So that's what's happening. There is other players in the market that are evolving. But again, if you look at the challenges involved here, there is a trust challenge. Right? So again, do you know who's the other party that you're transacting with? Do you know if they pass the KYC, if there is AML involved, how does taxation work? There is a lot that you have to discuss, right? But again, there are other aspects. So what if you authorize an agent to make a transaction, but now the agent is trying to use the same authorization to make multiple transactions at the same time, right? So this, again, agent can run rogue as well, but how can you prevent all of that from happening, right? So we launched, at AWS, we launched Amazon Agent Core Payments, which is a service that will enable AI agents to autonomously discover, transact, and execute payments just with a few lines of code. Right? So this is currently available in preview in collaboration with Coinbase and Stripe. So what does this provide? Right? So you bring your agentic framework, you bring any model, any framework, you host that model, you host the agent in AWS, and then you attach the payment wallet to this agent, right? So you can say, you can pick from essentially like Coinbase or Stripe in the wallets. The access keys will be stored very securely in an identity service, and every agent will get its own workload identity. Think of agents now servicing your users, right? So your users will probably say access Google Drive. So now there is an on behalf of authorization that the agent will be able to pass to the backend service. It will attach the payment rails, and there is a payment orchestration that can be done and real-time settlements. But one of the key things about the agent core payments is the payment limits. Now, you don't want your agent to, earlier we saw a demo where we attached a payment like $5 for a transaction, but you don't want to go have the agent go rogue. So you can set payment limits. You can set limits on how long the agent can transact. Is it 2 days? Is it 30 days? And how much amount you can authorize the agent to also transact. Right? So there's a bunch of payment-related constraints that you can add. And you can also get full end-to-end observability using the service. Right? So again, what is everyone using x402 for? We've seen some of the demos already. There is, folks are working on providing market data, LLM inference, web scraping, research agents, right? So there is a lot happening here. And, these are the number of transactions that are happening, 50 million volume transactions, as well as 170 million transactions that are happening. So most of the transactions we see on x402, if you look at the scan, is, under 0.001 cents there, right? So that's from, the market opportunity is real, and there is a lot happening out there. But that's it from my side. Thank you for, yeah.
details. So you mentioned like a CloudFront, and it could prevent one agent to multiple transactions, payments in a single time or maybe in a session. So could you please little bit elaborate, like in the CloudFront side, like how you are envisioning inside the infrastructure side, like um, how should like somebody has a agent and somebody has a infrastructure, like let's say they are expecting x402 payments protocol and they are opening their service for the agents. So
Right. Okay. So we are talking about two sides here, the buy side and the sell side. The CloudFront is on the sell side where you have APIs or content that you can monetize, right? So you have your API service that you put behind, or maybe the content in S3 buckets that you can say, okay, now I want to monetize that, right? So
okay.
that's kind of how you see that. And then you can put guardrails and ensure that only, you can make the whole, content as X402 enabled. Now on the buy side, which is where agent core payments comes into picture, that's where you see that when there is a website that is, or a request, or the server that is responding with 402, automatically, without doing any activity, the SDK, Agent Core Payments SDK, will look at this particular response and says, okay, now I have a 402, which means that I should automatically run a non-deterministic loop and attach the payment rails because I can do the authorization, right? I have the authorization to do that. So as a user, if you want to make a transaction, you can still put guardrails on that, right? So I don't know if that is the answer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.